Ladies and gentlemen, let me start out by saying thank you for helping the Ironworker Gaming channel roll past 25,000 subscribers. The support you've been willing to show a channel that showed up 5 years late to the party has been mind-blowing. So from me to you, a true and sincere thank you. But last week I released this video dabbling with champion mods in PvP. If you didn't catch it, I'll have it on the end screen of this video, or you can find the link down in the description. Now, I wasn't really planning on doing a follow-up video on the matter, but a lot of people in the comments section had asked about Overload Bow's synergy with Monarque. So I happily went back in to test this, and a few other points that came up in conversation. Most of the notes I just left in the pinned comment of the previous video, but I think the pairing of Monarque and Overload Bow is worth explaining a little deeper. So what's the deal with this weapon mod tandem? In the previous video I demonstrated how Overload Bow can apply a disruption effect to enemy guardians. This status has a 5-second duration, and during that 5-second window, ability and super regeneration are slowed. It doesn't block health regen, it doesn't lower damage output, it doesn't hinder ability or super usage. What it did do was add about 2 seconds to the cooldown timer of my grenade at tier 7 discipline, and 3 seconds to my super at tier 7 intellect. Not a whole lot if considered on a single application basis, but with multiple statuses applied over the course of a match, the disruption effect could prove disruptive. Any subsequent shots landed on a target that is already disrupted will not add to the timer, but it will reset the 5-second countdown. So the stage is set to roll in everyone's favorite exotic bow in the Crucible, and well, maybe not everyone's, but a lot of Guardians' favorite exotic bow, Monarque. It's an extremely formidable bow all on its own. A pretty solid stat line, a friendly 684 draw time, snapshot sights for very fast aim down sight speeds, and it actually does carry with it a lightweight frame bow's intrinsic capability, which is moving faster while the weapon is equipped. But Monarque's intrinsic trait is kinda what steals the show here. Poison arrows. Arrows fired quickly after a full draw become poison arrows. Precision hits with poison arrows spread poison to nearby enemies. An absolutely amazing trait that provides some very stout benefits. It just flat out deals more damage than other primary bows. Now, other bows can outdamage it technically, but it will require some sort of damage perk to be procced. Just straight out of the gate right off the rip though, no other primary bow is gonna best Monarque's damage. And if you do get a 20% damage buff rolling somehow, this does turn into a one-shot weapon. But it's the poison ticks that are key to the synergy with Overload Bow. They already do provide some nice utility on their own, blocking an enemy target's health regeneration and being able to track them short term as those damage ticks roll off. But if you have Overload Bow equipped, you kinda see where we're going with this? Those poison ticks will continually reset the disruption timer. The ticks take about 2 seconds to fully run their course. So instead of a target's ability and super cooldowns being slowed for 5 seconds like we would see with a standard disruption cycle, the status is now being applied for 7 seconds at a crack. But it gets better. If you land a perfectly drawn crit on an enemy, not only are you spreading the poison to any nearby targets, there is the potential for you to spread the disruption as well. Now, just something to be aware of, this did not work out 100% of the time in testing. The success rate was about 90% for me, but there were just a few times where the poison spread, but the disruption did not. Something to keep in mind. But potentially being able to disrupt 2 guardians with a single arrow is some really nice synergy. With the updated disruption timer though, I wanted to remeasure these cooldowns again to get some accurate figures with Monarque thrown into the mix. So, porting the numbers in from the previous video and starting out with the tier 7 grenade cooldown. True in-game base cooldown of the grenade clocked in at 46.3 seconds for me. The cooldown time with a single period of disruption was 48.67 seconds. When struck by Monarque though, their grenade cooldown was now increased to 49.84 seconds. That's adding about 3.5 seconds to the base cooldown, and tacking on an additional second from the standard disruption cycle. For the tier 7 intellect super cooldown test, true base in-game cooldown for me came in at 4 minutes and 6.76 seconds. The disrupted cooldown clocked in at 4 minutes and 9.65 seconds. When struck by Monarque's disruption, this moved up to 4 minutes and 11.86 seconds, adding about 5 seconds to the base cooldown timer per shot, and 2 more seconds than a standard disruption cycle. Now, we can look at these numbers and say, yeah, that ain't much. But remember, this is on a single application, 1 arrow, 1 disruption cycle. Over the course of a match, these are gonna add up, especially in terms of the super cooldown. Consider this in trials. Usually if a player can claim the first super out in front of everyone else, they have a good chance of taking a round. If you're able to continually smack players with disruption, it can go a long way in ensuring that the player with the first super is on your team. There are 2 other things that I wanted to take a look at though. First, the disruption effect versus a stag helmet warlock. It's grown in popularity in competitive game modes as of late because you are getting damage reduction when standing in a warlock's rift, In the Warlock, when their health goes critical, they're going to get 50% of that Rift energy back. A single crit from a Monarch will put the enemy in that critical range. Does the disruption effect block the Rift energy refund? Unfortunately, no. The Warlock's still going to get 50% of their class ability immediately refunded. And one more test. Another cooldown that I was interested in taking a look at was the Hunter dodge. A lot of Hunters in PvP do run 100 mobility, giving them a very quick 11-second dodge cooldown. When timing it out in-game, I was seeing 12 seconds, so that's what we're going to go with. But when hit by a Monarch's disruption, that increased to 15.26 seconds, most of the time. There were a few instances where the cooldown refresh time went over 16 seconds. Why? I'm not 100% sure. Perhaps there's some slight inconsistencies with the poison damage tick rate, but either way, this is adding about 3 to 4 seconds to the dodge cooldown. For Hunters who have developed that inner stopwatch for when their dodge is coming back up, this increase could potentially mess with them. Being able to throw an enemy player off their game just a little bit could make the difference. So maybe give this a try in Trials next weekend, if you're comfy taking a Monarch into the game mode. Overload Bow's only burning 1 energy point on your gloves, and given the cost of the mod, there is value here. But as always, take this information and use it at your own discretion. But if you did enjoy this video, like, share, subscribe, watch it again. Any support you're willing to lend to the channel is always greatly appreciated. And with all that being said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out this video. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you on the next one.